There are protests in several cities across America tonight, a response to the release of a video that shows 5 Memphis police officers brutally beating a man named Tyre Nichols. He died after that attack. The videos that were released are long and they are graphic. We're going to show portions of them tonight.
So if you prefer not to watch these, now is the time you can turn away. Officers also repeatedly used pepper spray, batons, and tasers on Nichols. Memphis police released those videos this evening. We also want to note that certain pieces of this video will not be shown on TV, but we will explain it verbally so you have some context in this reporting.
One video shows an officer joining a traffic stop as it's happening.
All right, I'm on the ground.
Tyre Nichols talks to officers calmly. The officers threaten him with violence and shout conflicting commands. They order him to get on the ground. Nichols replies he's on the ground, says, quote, "I'm trying to go home." He's pepper sprayed and tased as he tells them he's complying with their orders. Then he runs for his life. A neighborhood surveillance video without audio shows officers again beating Nichols, this time in a residential area. He's hit and kicked, pulled to his feet to be hit again, hit as his hands are restrained behind him. Beaten bloody, he's left lying in the street and then slumped against a patrol car. 23 minutes go by before video shows a stretcher and an ambulance at the scene.
In other videos, Nichols can be heard calling out for his mother as he's beaten. And toward the end, he just moans, unable to speak.
Officers kept giving conflicting demands like "show me your hands" when the officers were either holding his arms or Nichols was already handcuffed, or "lay down" when he was already on the ground. Officers are also heard speculating that he reached for an officer's gun. The 5 officers are charged with second-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, and aggravated assault, among other charges. Today, 2 sheriff's deputies from Shelby County, Tennessee, were also relieved of duty after video showed them responding that night. Law enforcement in our area and really across the country are sharing their perspectives on this case. Here's 9 News reporter Luis De Leon.
You know, I think it's important for the public to understand that I'm just as angry, just as outraged.
Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas spoke with us before the videos showing the horrific beating of Tyre Nichols were released, saying there's no place for what happened.
We should all not stand for and tolerate this kind of behavior.
And prompting conversations in his own department.
Certainly, there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of, disappointment that yet again, here's another police department who members of that department have acted inappropriately, and it's certainly a stain on the entire profession.
A sentiment shared by Dr. David Thomas, a retired officer turned professor at Florida Gulf Coast University.
There's no need for any of what you saw.
We spoke to him after he viewed the videos.
There's nothing that I can say that would say, okay, this is what stands out. This was abuse from the beginning to the end.
He says that's made especially clear by the way the officer spoke about pursuing Nichols after he first ran away.
I hope they stomp.
As well as the way officers spoke about Nichols after the encounter.
In this case, no, that was to me, that was more bravado. Oh, he grabbed my gun, or he did this, or he did that. So to me, what they were trying to do in those conversations was justify everything that they did.
But in his eyes, there is no justification, only a need for change.
And people need to understand is that policing has subcultures. And in those subcultures, you're going to have these types of incidents. You're going to have these types of officers. And it doesn't matter race. Race plays no role in that. It is a segment of the culture of policing in organizations, and that needs to be addressed by the chief.
This afternoon, I asked Chief Thomas about his perspective on all of this from the lens of a leader in law enforcement and a black man. He told me he's angry at what these officers did, regardless of race. Another note that both Chief Thomas and Dr. Thomas brought up was the very obvious lack of any sort of police intervention, that an officer there could have done something to de-escalate the situation. That's something that Denver Police works on, according to the chief, Jenny.
It is hard to understand that there are 5 officers there and none of them stopped it.
Right, and yeah, we'll have to see how this goes down the line.
All right, Luis, thank you.
I want it to be peace tonight, because burning up the cities is not going to bring our son back.
Tyre Nichols' mother, they're asking for calm as people go into the streets. We have seen protests in New York City, in Washington, D.C., Boston, and Memphis. Peaceful with the exception of some broken police car windows in New York, it looks like. Protesters in Memphis have blocked off a bridge on I-55. Talking to CNN today, Rovon Wells, Nichols' mother, says the accused officers in this case, being black, has hurt the black community. She's calling for all bad officers to lose their badges.
I want to say to the 5 police officers that murdered my son, you also disgraced your own families when you did this. But you know what? I'm going to pray for you and your families.
Tyre's mom says she has not seen the video of the beating. She said seeing her son in the hospital afterward was enough. Understand that the video, this topic, it's all difficult. Psychologists say the best approach to take care of your mental health is just to know your limits and to talk to somebody if you'd like. Colorado Crisis Services is available 24/7 every day of the year. You can call or text 844-493-8255, or you can call 988. That's the new number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline.
The man accused of killing 10 people at a Boulder King Soopers nearly 2 years ago now still is not competent to stand trial. There was another status hearing today for the gunman. Doctors say they do not believe the suspect is ready for trial, but they say there is a, quote, reasonable likelihood of reaching competency. His case has been on hold now for more than a year. Another competency hearing is set for the end of April.
A family wants answers after their 69-year-old father was beaten to death outside a bar in Thornton on Christmas Day. It's been more than a month since Manuel Osvaldo Jaquez Machado was killed. No suspect's been caught.
As I feel so hopeless, I continue to think that this guy took my mother's husband of 48 years with zero remorse.
Jaquez Machado's son, Javier, spoke for the first time today. He described his dad as joyful, a man who loved photography and gardening. Investigators say Jaquez Machado was attacked after he backed into someone's car outside Thirsties.
To the man that did this, if you are watching, I promise you we forgive you. Life is about forgiveness, and we understand. But do the right thing. Come forward.
Thornton police only have a generic description of the suspect. White man, 5 foot to 5'8", shoulder length reddish blonde hair with a medium reddish beard. He was driving a red Jeep, either a Cherokee or a Compass, with a black stripe on the hood and a roof rack.
For the second day in a row, no new migrants arrived in Denver overnight. The last emergency shelter set up at a rec center closed today. The 37 migrants staying there will be moved to a partner facility. 950 others are staying in partner emergency shelters. Denver is now activating an emergency warming shelter ahead of what we expect to be sub-freezing temperatures this weekend. The McNichols building will be open through Wednesday. That's a 24/7 warming center. The city says centers and public libraries will be open during their normal hours throughout the day, acting as short-term warming centers. Lauren Robinson will join us shortly to tell us just how cold it's going to get this weekend. Look for that coming up in her full forecast. It's been a rough start for the year for Colorado State Patrol. Twice this month already, they say drivers have ignored lane closures and crashed into state vehicles. And CSP, unfortunately, knows just how dangerous that can be.
Last Wednesday, January 18th, during a snowstorm on C-470 near Santa Fe, we had a single vehicle crash that occurred on the inside shoulder.
Trooper Cameron Gill was working that crash. They'd closed off a lane, and he had just stepped out of his patrol car.
And 45 seconds to a minute later, I hear skid marks, and then the rear of my vehicle was collided by another vehicle that was attempting to pass.
And this was the result. Luckily, nobody got hurt, but CSP said the driver was charged with failure to move over. It's an old law that's been updated with stricter penalties after the death of Trooper Cody Donahue. CSP also lost troopers William Modane, Jamie Jersevics, Taylor Joseph Tifo, and Corporal Daniel Groves, all on the side of the road in recent years. Then this week, another crash, this time into a CDOT vehicle working a crash scene. Only minor injuries, but enough to scare everyone.
And it's causing a fear of employees to be on the road. Risks, they're worried about coming home.
I am concerned. I'm concerned for my officer's safety. I'm concerned for the employees of CDOT. I'm concerned for all roadway workers. And most importantly, I'm concerned for the public.
So what's the point of all this? You've heard it a million times, but first responders hope you will actually listen, move over, slow down, and they really want to go home at the end of the day, at the end of their shift, safely to their families.
It was snow that led to the arrest of a suspect that police believe set two small fires at a church in Loveland. Just before midnight last Thursday, somebody threw 2 Molotov cocktails into Abiding Love Lutheran Church. Firefighters found a small fire by a broken window at the front of the church. There's another fire in the basement that had been put out by sprinklers. According to court documents, investigators found footprints in the snow near the church, and they were able to track them all the way to the suspect's house. 21-year-old named Darian Sexton is facing federal charges for setting a fire in a church. Investigators say they found plastic bottles at Sexton's home, similar to ones found in the church basement, and also recovered clothes similar to the suspect's outfit seen on a doorbell camera at the church.
Douglas County leaders are telling people not to give money to panhandlers. They're trying to get people to donate to nonprofits instead, saying they're worried about somebody getting hurt in these busy intersections. The county has put out signs for a new campaign. An advocate, though, at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless says the county should not be telling people what to do with their own money.
I think condescending to people experiencing homelessness to say that, if they're not going to use the money to get a job or get sober or immediately do what you want them to do, then you shouldn't assist them.
They represent our common sense view in Douglas County, which is if you're handing out money at intersections, you're only going to get more people asking for money at intersections.
Since the sheriff was worried about people getting hurt, we asked them, has that happened? Sheriff Darren Weekly says his department has not had any incidents of somebody being hurt in an interaction with the panhandler.